You spent 10 years taking bullets and knives for her, but never even heard a happy birthday from her. It wasn't until you realized you couldn't even take time off to visit your parents' graves that you understood this wasn't gratitude. It was captivity. I had been the personal bodyguard for the daughter of New York's wealthiest family for 10 full years. Over those 10 years, I'd taken bullets for her, been stabbed, handled kidnappings, and cleaned up one disaster after another caused by trust fund brats. If she so much as mentioned craving dessert from the Carlisle Hotel at midnight, I'd drive 20 miles through a downpour to get it for her. When she was sick, I'd stay awake all night, letting her use me as a human pillow to cling to. Everyone called me the Vanderbilt family's most loyal dog, and even the little princess herself, Sarah Vanderbilt, believed it without question. On my 30th birthday, though, looking at the scars covering my body in the mirror, I suddenly felt sick of it all. I wanted to get married. I wanted a home that was truly mine. So I secretly signed up on a dating site. The day we met, the woman across the table was gentle and a bit shy. "I heard you work for the Vanderbilt daughter," she said. "That's impressive." For the first time in a while, I actually relaxed and smiled. "You think so? I'm actually thinking of quitting." The next instant, the restaurant's glass door burst open. Sarah Vanderbilt stood in the doorway, flanked by 8 black-suited guards, her eyes ready to kill. Her eyes were red. She knocked over our table, grabbed my tie, and her voice shook as she screamed. "Who said you could quit? Who said you could go on a date? I've kept you for 10 years, and you dare abandon me for someone else? My name is Morrison, and I'm Sarah Vanderbilt's personal bodyguard. Today was my 30th birthday, and I'd just handled 2 drunk trust fund brats who tried to hit on her. I'd barely gotten back to the security lounge when my phone screen lit up. A deposit alert appeared, followed by an iMessage from Sarah's assistant, Henry. "Ms. Sarah says thanks for tonight. The bonus is in your account. Make sure to check." I stared at that long string of zeros, but I felt nothing. Those numbers meant nothing to me. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Sarah calling directly. "Morrison, did you handle those 2 morons?" "Done." "What a buzzkill. They ruined my afternoon nap. You're coming with me to the Bulgari launch this afternoon." I hesitated for a moment. "Hello." She snapped. "Are you deaf?" "Miss Vanderbilt," I said, my voice rough, "today's my birthday. Can I take the afternoon off to see my parents' graves?" The line went quiet for a second. Then she let out a dismissive laugh. "Morrison, are you kidding me? They've been dead for years. What's the point of paying respects to a pile of rocks? Be in the garage at 3 sharp. If you're even a minute late, I'll dock your bonus." She hung up without another word. I held the phone to my ear and listened to the dial tone before slowly lowering it. The man in the mirror was 30, with a nasty scar cutting from his right eye to his temple. That was the gift I got 3 years ago, shielding Sarah from a smash bottle. She screamed, but not for me. 2 drops of my blood had landed on her skirt. "Morrison, you're disgusting. This dress is couture. You couldn't even afford it with 3 months of your pay." Later, she had her assistant transfer me $50,000, as if the permanent scar on my face and her dress both had the same price tag. That morning, I spent 2 hours at the cemetery, bringing my parents a bunch of white lilies. In the photo on the headstone, they wore the same gentle smiles they always had. If they were still alive, they'd already be nagging me to get married, start a family, and live a normal life. In the afternoon, the Bulgari event was packed with celebrities, and Sarah moved through the crowd like a social butterfly. I stayed right behind her, scanning every face that came near her with every step she took. A B-list actor tried to approach her, but I stopped him cold. He glared at me. "Who the hell are you?" Sarah looked back and gave a sweet smile. "Oh, him. He's just our family dog. He's very protective. Don't mind him." A few people nearby burst out laughing. I stood there, my face frozen. Through my earpiece, I could hear the other guards joking. "Hear that, Morrison? The princess called you a dog again. You get used to it." At 11 that night, I was driving Sarah, completely wasted, back to the estate. She was sprawled across the back seat when she suddenly kicked my seat. "Morrison, I'm Festi. I want that tea from the Mountain Lodge, the one with spring water." I checked the time. "Miss Vanderbilt, that place is in the Catskills. It's a 2-hour round trip, and they close at 1. "I don't care," she screamed. "Go now, or you're fired." I didn't say a word. I just turned the car around. By the time I got there, it was already closed. I pleaded with the night manager for half an hour before he finally sold me the last pot. I poured it into a thermos, kept it hot, and raced back to the estate. When I got back, Sarah was already out cold. I stood outside her bedroom, still holding that thermos, and finally just set it quietly on the doormat. The next day, my day off, I secretly went to a cafe to meet the woman the dating site had set me up with. Her name was Lisa. She was an elementary school teacher with a kind face and a soft, gentle voice. "So, Mr. Morrison, what do you do?" she asked. I paused. "I'm a private security consultant." She nodded. "That sounds stressful. Are you always busy?" "Pretty much," I admitted. "I'm on call 24/7. She was understanding. Money isn't easy to earn these days. I have a senior class, so I stay late often too. We clicked unexpectedly. When she heard my parents were gone, her eyes filled with sympathy. "If you ever want a home-cooked meal, give me a call. I make a pretty good beef stew." Seeing her warm smile, that cold, frozen place inside me began to melt. We made plans for next week, and for the first time in ages, I felt light again. That feeling lasted right up until I left the cafe and my phone went crazy with vibrations. Sarah's voice screamed through the phone. "Where the hell are you? Get your ass to Fifth Avenue now. If you're not here in 10 minutes, you're done." I clenched my jaw and flagged down a cab. In the luxury section of the department store, Sarah was screaming at a salesgirl. "This dump calls itself a flagship? You sold the bag I wanted to someone else? Do you know who I am? I'll have his whole floor closed." The clerk was about to cry. "Miss Vanderbilt, this lady had already reserved that bag." A well-dressed but timid woman stood nearby, obviously terrified. "You rushed over." "Miss Vanderbilt, what's going on?" Sarah grabbed my sleeve the moment she saw me. "Morrison, she stole my bag. Get it back for me." The woman whispered, "But I reserved it a month ago." Sarah raised her hand to slap her, but I grabbed her wrist. "Miss Vanderbilt, this is a public place. Think about your image." She shot me a venomous glare. "Whose side are you on? I should have gotten a real dog. At least it knows who feeds it." The manager finally stepped in, apologized profusely, and promised to source an identical bag for Sarah. She finally backed down, still fuming, and yanked my arm as she stormed out. She stayed silent and scowling the whole way. Then suddenly, she grabbed my phone out of my hand. "Let me see what was so important on your day off." Before I could stop her, she'd already unlocked it. My heart dropped. She saw my messages with Lisa and the dating site notification. The air in the car went ice cold. Sarah held up my phone, her voice sharp as poison. "You went on a date?" I gripped the wheel, my knuckles turning white. "Miss Vanderbilt, I'm 30. It's normal to want a family." She laughed coldly. "Family? What makes you think you deserve a family? You belong to me. If it weren't for the Vanderbilts, you'd be nothing." I took a breath. "Miss Vanderbilt, I'm just your employee. When my contract ends, I'm planning to quit." She locked her eyes on me, burning with rage. "Quit? Say that one more time, Morrison." "You're dreaming. You owe me, and you'll never repay it. Without my say-so, you're not going anywhere." After that, I was basically imprisoned. The basement had no windows, day and night blurred together. A single dim bulb hung above, and time became meaningless. Meals were always cold leftovers. On the third night, the door swung open and Sarah stumbled in, reeking of alcohol, and kicked me. "Hey, learned your lesson yet?" I stayed sitting on the floor. "I didn't do anything wrong, Miss Vanderbilt. I just want to get married." She exploded like a cornered beast. "Marry that teacher? I already sent people to her school yesterday. If she sees you again, she'll be out of job." I jerked my head up. "Come at me, not her." Her eyes turned red, her voice shaking with hurt and fury. "You're yelling at me for her? I've had you for 10 years, and that's worth less than some woman you barely know." She lunged at me, pounding my chest with her fists. "I'll teach you. You want to marry? You'll marry me. You belong to me." I let her rage until she was winded and drained. Only then did I speak, my voice hoarse. "Miss Vanderbilt, I've been stabbed 3 times for you and saved you from 7 separate dangers. Every bonus you gave me, I saved, not a cent spent. Is that enough to repay you for saving my life?" She went still, as if truly seeing me for the first time. After a long pause, She let out a brittle laugh. She leaned in, her breath thick with whiskey. Morrison, let me tell you, it'll never be enough. You won't repay it in this life. You'll still owe me in the next. She stood up, staring down at me with frozen eyes. Public school teacher in Queens, parents in that old building on the west side, right? You can go back to being my loyal dog, or you can watch her entire family get ruined because of you. She turned and walked out. The lock clicked behind her. I sat in the dark, the scratches on my neck burning, but that was nothing next to the cold despair in my chest. On the fourth morning, the door opened again. It was Sarah's assistant, Ms. Davis, carrying a tray of breakfast and a medical kit. Morrison, have something to eat. Miss Vanderbilt said to clean up your wounds. They're going to the stables with her this afternoon. I looked up. Is she letting me out? Ms. Davis looked away. She said to give you time to think. If you apologize and promise never to mention dating or marriage again, she'll act like nothing happened. You'll stay the head of security, and she'll double your pay. You stay the hair. And if I refuse? She lowered her voice. Morrison, why make this harder than it has to be? You know her temper. She really did send people to Lisa's school yesterday. They didn't do anything, but it was a warning. You can't beat her. Just say sorry and move on. You've been with her for 10 years. I closed my eyes. 10 years, a full decade. I'd circled her like a satellite, utterly loyal, but I'd forgotten that I deserved my own path. That afternoon, I showered, put on a clean suit, and made myself spotless. I became a meticulous Vanderbilt security chief once more. Sarah's face slowly broke into a satisfied smile when she saw me. So you finally understand? I said nothing extra and opened her door. Please get in, Miss Vanderbilt. She hummed and climbed in, clearly pleased. I knew you couldn't leave me. Tonight you're coming to a charity gala and auction. If you like anything, I'll buy it as an apology for the last few days. Her voice was unusually gentle, but I just stared at the floor. The sun was harsh at the stables. Sarah rode her thoroughbred for a few laps. When she got off, her cheeks were flushed. She tossed me the reins. Walk him, he's agitated today. Be careful. The horse was clearly on edge, snorting and stamping. I led him around the ring twice and was about to hand him off when a car backfired loudly in the distance. The horse reared, ripped the reins from my grip, and charged straight at Sarah. She was about to be trampled. I moved on instinct, lunging and shoving her out of the way. A heavy hoof slammed into my chest the next second. I heard my ribs snap, then a blinding pain as I was thrown backward. The last thing I saw was Sarah's horrified face, her hand stretching toward me. Just before everything went dark, I felt someone cradle my head, and something hot and wet fell onto my face. I heard her frantic screaming, her voice breaking. Morrison, don't you die. I won't allow it. Do you hear me? If you die, I'll make that Lisa and her whole family pay. Then everything went black. When I woke, I was in a VIP hospital room. My chest was wrapped so tight that each breath burned like a fresh cut, and I was drenched in cold sweat. Sarah sat beside me, her eyes puffy and red. You're so useless, she began. You couldn't even control a horse. I almost got crushed. I tried to talk, but my throat was raw. Miss Vanderbilt, are you all right? She scoffed. Me? I'm fine. You, though, the doctor said you have 3 broken ribs and need 3 months of bed rest. She jabbed my forehead. Did you do this on purpose, Morrison? Playing the victim, so I'd feel sorry for you? I closed my eyes, too exhausted to argue. The doctor told me that another half hour and I'd have been gone. The hoof had missed my heart by less than an inch. You got lucky, the doctor had said. I stared at the ceiling. Yeah, fantastic luck. After a decade of taking bullets and blades for her, even death must have felt sorry for me. Her expression went rigid, as if my words had hit a nerve. She snapped upright. Who are you mocking, Morrison? Saving me is your job. She stormed out, her heels clicking away. I listened until the sound faded, then slowly exhaled. She destroyed my phone, and I had no idea how Lisa was. That night, Sarah returned drunk again. She stumbled to my bed and clutched my arm. Morrison, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I was just terrified. Her voice was choked with sobs. When you shoved me away today, it was like that alley 10 years ago. But this time you just lay there, and you wouldn't wake up no matter how much I screamed. I thought you were gone. I just watched her, silent. It was the first time in 10 years she'd said sorry, but I felt nothing. You're drunk, Miss Vanderbilt. She shook her head wildly. I'm not drunk. Morrison, don't quit, don't date. I'll stop being difficult. I'll pay you more, give you whatever you ask. She held on to me like a drowning victim, desperately promising everything. I gently slipped my hand out of hers. I'm tired, Miss Vanderbilt. 10 years is more than enough. Please let me go. Her sobs cut off like a switch had been flipped. She looked up, eyes blazing with fury. You want to leave that much? For that teacher? What does she have over me? I can give you anything. I held her gaze and spoke slowly. She can give me dignity. Sarah looked like I'd struck her, her face drained of color. You're saying I never gave you dignity? Morrison, tell me honestly, when have I ever shortchanged you? You go to the best places where the finest brands drive luxury cars, but I'm still just a bodyguard, I interrupted. In your eyes, I'm still that family dog. You said it yourself. She jumped to her feet. You want dignity? Phoenix. Without the Vanderbilts, you're nothing. Do you think Lisa would still want you if she knew you were just a high school graduate vet? Does she love your scarred face or the blood-soaked money you earned? She slammed the door and vanished. I stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks, and Sarah never visited. But her assistant came daily with overpriced health products. By week 3, I could hobble around. When the nurse wasn't watching, I snuck out, found a payphone in the corridor, and dialed Lisa. Hello. She sounded exhausted. It's me, Morrison. The line went quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was icy and distant. Mr. Kane, what can I do for you? I am sorry I vanished. I got hurt, she interrupted. I know. Your employer came to see me herself. Did Sarah tell you? Did she threaten you? Lisa laughed bitterly. Mr. Kane, we shouldn't see each other anymore. I'm just a regular person who wants peace. I can't handle your world's drama. Click. She hung up. I held the phone, frozen for a long time. On my way back, I bought a new phone and SIM. As soon as I powered it up, a flood of text from Sarah came in. Who said you could leave the hospital? Get back here now. If you're not back, I'll cut your medical bills. The last one was from 10 minutes ago. Did you go see her? You're asking for it. I deleted every message and blocked her number. When I got back, Sarah was by my bed, her face so dark she looked homicidal. Where'd you go? I didn't answer. I just lay back down. She lunged and grabbed my gown collar. I'm asking you, did you go see Lisa? Are you really willing to die for a woman? That's my private time, I said calmly. I don't have to report every move to you. She was shaking with fury. Fine, Morrison, you've gotten cocky, haven't you? You're still under contract. I can sue you into the ground. I closed my eyes. Do what you want. Then she started throwing everything breakable in the room. Eventually, her fingers shaking, she pointed at me. You'll see. I'll make sure Lisa can't stay in New York. My eyes snapped open. Sarah, if you touch a hair on her head, I swear, she gave a cruel smile. One call, and I'll have her whole family on their knees. I forced myself up, ignoring the tearing pain in my chest, and looked her in the eye. Do you believe that before you make a move, I can ruin you first? In 10 years, how many of your disasters and dirty secrets have I covered up? You know it. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Morrison, you're threatening me for her? Even a corner dog will bite, Miss Vanderbilt. I've been your dog for 10 years, but I still remember how to bite. She went white and stepped back. You're crazy? I'll tell my father. He'll run you out of this city. I actually smiled. Good, because I have plenty to discuss with Mr. Vanderbilt. Like who took the fall for that drunk driving incident 3 years ago, or last year's charity auction, when you replaced the original with a fake. She had no words. She stared at me like I was a stranger. She spun and fled, slamming the door behind her. On my discharge day, Sarah was absent. Ms. Davis processed my discharge and gave me a new phone. Miss Vanderbilt bought it. She said to rest as long as you need, with pay. When you're ready, call her. I didn't accept it. Tell her thanks, but no. I'll pay the penalty myself. My resignation will be in her email shortly. Ms. Davis was taken aback. Ethan, are you serious? She cried all night when she got back from the hospital. She really cares about you, I interrupted. Ms. Davis, you've been with her for 5 years. How many times has she thrown things at you? She went quiet. I patted her shoulder. Find a way out while you still can. Don't be like me. 10 years gone in a blink. I rented a small place in another borough, far from the Vanderbilt estate. It was small, but got plenty of sunlight. I sometimes thought of Lisa, but I didn't reach out. Sarah was right. All I had to show for myself were scars and bloodstained savings. 2 weeks passed quietly. One night, I stepped out to take out the trash and spotted a familiar black Maybach on the curb. The window rolled down, revealing Sarah. She'd lost weight, and her eyes were swollen. Get in. I stayed put. Miss Vanderbilt, what do you need? My father wants to see you. I frowned. Why? You'll see when we get there. Don't worry, it's not what you think. I hesitated, then got in. As we approached the estate, she spoke quietly. Morrison, if I told you I could change, would you believe me? I stared at the road and stayed silent. She gave a low, bitter laugh. I knew you wouldn't, but I mean it. I've done a lot of thinking these past 2 weeks. I know I was wrong. The car pulled up at the gate. The butler was waiting with a serious face. Miss Vanderbilt, the master is waiting for you and Mr. Kane in the study. Sarah took a breath. Let's go. No matter what he says, don't fight him. I'll handle it. In Mr. Vanderbilt's study, he sat behind a massive mahogany desk, looking over a file. When we walked in, he looked up. Sir, whatever you need to say, just say it. He set the file down and studied me. I heard you're resigning because of what Chloe did. I glanced at Sarah. She was wringing her hands, nervous. Just personal reasons. I want a different life. Mr. Vanderbilt gave a faint smile. No need to be so formal. I've seen everything you've done for Chloe. Without you, she'd have died in that kidnapping. The Vanderbilts owe you a life. He opened a drawer and slid a check across the desk. 30 million. If it's not enough, name your price. I froze. What is this? Your compensation. Take it and leave New York. Saad jumped up. Dad, you promised differently. Mr. Vanderbilt's face darkened. Sit down. Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough? Causing a spectacle over a bodyguard. You've disgraced this family. He turned back to me, his tone a little gentler. Morrison, you're a decent man, but you and Chloe are impossible. Take this and leave. I looked at that check and almost laughed. You think this is about money? Mr. Vanderbilt arched an eyebrow. What else? Unless you're in love with my daughter? Sarah's eyes brightened, looking at me with desperate hope. I shook my head. No. Her light died instantly, and she went pale. Mr. Vanderbilt narrowed his eyes. Then you should take it all the more. You've given us 10 years. We can't let you leave with nothing. I picked up the check and ripped it in two. No thanks. I'll cover the termination fee myself. Goodbye. I turned to go. Sarah lunged and grabbed my arm. Morrison, don't go. I don't care what my father says. I'll go with you. Stop her, Mr. Vanderbilt shouted. Guards burst in and pinned Sarah down. She fought them, screaming, Let go. Morrison, if you leave, I'll never forgive you. I didn't glance back. I walked straight out. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You're cruel, Morrison, but I won't let you go. Wherever you run, I'll find you. It was Sarah. I deleted it. My phone rang again. The caller ID said Lisa. I paused, but I picked up. But it was Sarah on the line. Morrison, why don't you want me? What does she have over me? Come back. I'll give you everything. I frowned. You're drunk, Miss Vanderbilt. Give the phone to someone else. She chuckled. There's no one else. I'm at Velvet Rope, and so many men are watching me. My heart dropped. Velvet Rope was a notoriously shady club. Stay where you are. I'll send Vanderbilt security for you. No, she shrieked. Don't call them. I want you. If you don't come, I'll go with the next guy who hits on me. She hung up. I tried calling back, but she turned off her phone. I paced, but I couldn't just ignore it. I called her security lead. Miss Vanderbilt is at Velvet Rope. She could be in danger. He sounded tense. Morrison, she fired everyone this afternoon. Could you maybe go? I rubbed my face. Send me the address. He thanked me over and over. 10 minutes later, I was at Velvet Rope's door. I found Sarah passed out in a corner booth. She was sprawled across the table, completely unconscious. A few men circled her like vultures. I shoved them away, took off my jacket, and covered her. Sarah, wake up. Her lashes flickered. She saw me and gave a contented smile. Morrison, you came. I tried to help her up, but she collapsed against me. I want to go to your apartment. I frowned. Not happening. She pressed her face to my ear, her breath hot and reeking of alcohol. Then take me to a hotel. I pulled back, and her eyes went cold. Don't act holier than thou. Am I really so much worse than Lisa? I gripped her shoulders. Keep it up, and I'll call your father. She went still. Eventually, I drove her back to the Vanderbilt estate. The butler brightened when he saw me. Mr. Kane, you've returned. I handed Sarah to him. Watch her. I started to leave, but Sarah wrapped her arms around me from behind. Don't go. I was wrong. I'm really wrong. I won't treat you badly anymore. I'll give you the respect you want. Please don't leave me. I peeled her fingers off me one by one. Good night, Miss Vanderbilt. She sank to the floor, sobbing. You'll regret this, Morrison. The next morning, I started seriously job hunting. I soon realized something was off. At every interview, they'd read my resume and then get awkward. Your experience is overqualified for us. Even moving companies rejected me. The foreman patted my shoulder. Man, it's not us, it's the Vanderbilts. You know the deal. I turned a corner, and two black-suited men blocked my path. Mr. Kane, Miss Vanderbilt would like to see you. They were obviously new hires. And if I refuse, one pulled out a taser. Then we'll have to insist. They led me to a private room at a tea house. Sarah was brewing tea. She pushed a cup toward me. Aged reserve tea from my father's private cellar. I didn't touch it. Miss Vanderbilt, just say what you want. She met my eyes. How's the job hunt? I laughed bitterly. Thanks to you, the whole city has closed its doors. She blew on her tea. Come back. I'll triple your pay, give you a car and an apartment. You'll only handle my personal security, nothing else. You want dignity? I'll give it. She paused, as if gathering her nerve. I can even apologize for everything I've done. I was surprised, but I stayed on guard. What's the condition? Stay away from Lisa, and you can never speak of quitting again. I stood. Then there's nothing to talk about. She hurled the teacup against the table, shattering it. Morrison, don't push it. I've never groveled to anyone in my life. I headed for the door. Then don't start with me. That's it. We're done. I pulled the door open, and 4 guards were blocking the way. Sarah's voice came from behind. Morrison, you have 2 choices today. Sign the contract or be carried out. I looked back at her. You sure about this? You think I'd hesitate? I smiled. Let's try. The biggest one rushed me. I dodged and landed an elbow to his neck. The other 3 piled on. The private room was too cramped to move freely. One caught me square in the chest, right where the old wound was, and my vision blurred. But I'd been in this line of work for 10 years. I knew how to take a beating. 5 minutes later, all 4 were on the floor groaning. I wiped the blood off my lip and looked at Sarah. She was white as a sheet. Want to keep going, Miss Vanderbilt? She bit her lip, then snatched a fruit knife from the table and pressed it to her neck. Morrison, if you walk out that door, I'll kill myself right now. My eyes widened. You're crazy. Her hand trembled. The blade had already cut her skin, and a thin trickle of blood ran down. I've always been crazy, and you made me worse. If you go, what do I have? I took a slow step toward her. Put the knife down. No, not unless you promise to come back. She was hysterical. She pushed the knife deeper, and blood streamed down her neck. I charged, twisted the knife from her hand, and tossed it aside. She slumped to the ground, crying so hard she could barely breathe. Morrison, she gasped. I looked at the wound on her neck, and the rage inside me faded. Where's the first aid kit? She pointed at the cabinet. I grabbed it, knelt, and cleaned and bandaged the cut. She tilted her head up, tears splashing onto my hands. When I used to get a scratch, you'd always blow on it, she murmured. You said it wouldn't hurt. I paused. That was a long time ago. She gripped the hem of my jacket. If I told you I've really changed, you still wouldn't believe me, would you? I didn't reply. I finished taping the gauze and stood. Don't do anything so foolish again. I'm leaving. She didn't try to stop me. But as I pushed the door, she said softly, Morrison, that woman Lisa, she's getting married. I whirled around. Her lips curved into a smile that was both smug and sorrowful. Her parents took 50 grand and married her off to a nouveau riche developer. They're at City Hall this afternoon. I spun back and seized her shoulders. What did you do? She didn't fight back. I didn't do anything. I just made her face reality. This world runs on money and power. Morrison, you can't protect her. I pushed her off and ran. I dialed Lisa as I ran, but it kept going to voicemail. I called her school. Her colleague hesitated for a long time before finally telling me. Lisa took personal leave. She's getting married, I think. I ran as fast as I could towards City Hall. I arrived just in time to see Lisa step out of a car, ashen-faced. A short, stout man was with her. I ran up and shoved the man aside. Lisa's eyes instantly filled with tears when she saw me. Morrison, what are you doing here? The short, fat man yelled. Who the hell are you? Putting your hands on my wife. I stared at Lisa, ignoring him. You told me you wanted peace. This is it. She couldn't stop crying. My mom took the money. My dad needs surgery. I didn't have a choice. I'm sorry. The man grabbed her arm. Stop wasting time with this loser. Get inside and get it done. I caught his wrist. She doesn't want this. Can't you tell? He sneered. I've already paid her family 50 grand. She's got no say. I punched him before he could finish. Morrison. Lisa sobbed, tugging my arm. I softened and took her hand. Come with me. I'll return the 50 grand, and I'll pay for your father's surgery. She stared at me in shock. But where would you get that kind of money? I brushed the tears from her face. I sold my life for 10 years. Is that enough to buy you your freedom? The man's voice cracked as he screamed. Lisa, if you walk away, your whole family is done in this city. I turned and gave him a cold glare. If you touch anyone in her family, I'll hand over every piece of evidence of Vanderbilt Group's tax evasion to the IRS. Then we'll see who's done. He shut up immediately. I took Lisa's hand, hailed a cab, and brought her my place. She was silent the entire ride. At the entrance to my building, she finally spoke. Why would you go this far for me? Because you said you make a great beef stew, I said. I want to taste it one day. She laughed through her tears, then her face turned worried. But the Vanderbilts, let's deal with the immediate problem first. I'll send you the 50 grand now. You can return it. She shook her head. I can't take your money. I'd already hit send on my phone. Think of it as a loan. You can pay me back with interest. She looked at me, quiet for a long time. Then she stepped forward and hugged me. I gently patted her back. After she left, I stood on the balcony. I noticed a black Mercedes parked in the shadows across the street. As expected, my phone buzzed. It was Sarah, her voice like ice. Having fun playing the hero? I gripped the rail. What do you really want from me? She gave a soft laugh. What do I want? I gave you a chance, Morrison. Now, I just want you to crawl back to me. The next day, the war began in earnest. All my accounts were frozen, my landlord served an eviction notice, and my utilities were shut off. I went to the bank. The teller looked uneasy. Mr. Kane, your account is under a money laundering investigation and is frozen indefinitely. I knew exactly who was behind it. I didn't fight it. I just withdrew the cash I'd stashed. In that moment, I felt utterly drained. For 10 years, everything I had was in their grip, like living in my own Truman Show. My phone buzzed again, another unknown number. I picked up, and it was Mr. Vanderbilt. Morrison, I know Chloe is spoiled, but you need to understand, you can't beat this family. If you go back to her, everything returns to normal. He hesitated. If you really care for her, I might consider it. She's my only child. The company will go to her and her husband. I laughed aloud. You think I spent 10 years protecting her for that? He paused. Ambition is nothing to be ashamed of, son. With Chloe, you'd have a life that teacher couldn't even dream of. I stared out at the Vanderbilt Tower, standing tall against the sky. She can give me plenty, but not what I really want. What? My freedom. After a long silence, he said only, "You'll regret this." I hung up and decided to get out of New York. When I went to buy a long-distance ticket, the teller gave me a strange look. "Sir, the system says you're on a travel restriction list." I stood there and took a deep breath. They were going to suffocate me in this city, piece by piece. I walked out, and the black Mercedes was waiting for me. The window came down. It was Sarah. "Get in," I got in. What will it take for you to let me leave? Her eyes were badly swollen. 3 days, she said. Just spend 3 days with me. After that, I swear I'll let you go and never bother you again. I frowned. Why should I trust you? She took out a notarized agreement. It's all in writing. After 3 days, you're free, plus $3 million in your account as compensation. I read it carefully. It was thorough with no obvious holes. Why 3 days? She turned and stared out the window. My birthday's coming. You've been with me for the last 10. Just this one last time, stay? I considered it for a moment. Fine, but I have 3 rules. 1, no touching me. 2, don't make me do anything I don't want. 3, leave Lisa alone. She gave a slight smile. Deal. The first day, she took me to Coney Island. We waited in line like a regular couple. On the Cyclone, she screamed nonstop and held my hand so tight, I thought she'd crush it. She looked ready to puke when we got off. I gave her some water. If it's so awful, why'd you get on? She wiped her mouth and grinned. I've always wanted to come, but my father never allowed it. He said it was too dangerous. We got ice cream, and she got it all over her face. Without thinking, I grabbed a napkin and wiped her chin. She froze, staring at me. Her eyes turned red. I realized what I'd done and quickly pulled away. She looked down and quietly finished her ice cream. That afternoon, we went on the Ferris wheel. When we stopped at the top, she spoke. I know I'm awful, she said quietly. I have a short fuse, and I'm unreasonable. But when you said you'd leave, I realized her voice broke. I realized I had no one but you. My parents are always busy, and my friends only care about my cash. Only you clean up my disasters, wait outside when I have nightmares, and stay awake with me when I'm sick. I gazed at the distant Manhattan skyline. That was my job. She shook her head. No. Last year, during that kidnapping, when you took that blade from me, I knew there's no one else in this world who'd take a knife from me. The wolf started moving down. She whispered, if Lisa weren't in the picture, would you have, even a little, like me? I didn't answer until we were back on solid ground. Life doesn't give you what-ifs. The second day, she said she wanted to learn self-defense. We were in the estate gym. I was showing her a move when she wrapped her arms around me from behind. Is this how you stop a bad guy? I stiffened. Let go, Miss Vanderbilt. It's almost over. She begged. Just a second. I peeled her hands off and turned to face her. We had a deal. Do you hate me that much? She said, her eyes red. If I'd had a dog for 10 years, it'd at least wag its tail when it saw me. I looked at her calmly. See? In your eyes, I've always been just a dog. That's not what I meant. That's it for today. I grabbed my towel. She grabbed my arm again. Sorry, I didn't mean it. I pulled away. Tomorrow's the last day. I hope you keep your promise. The third day, she said she wanted to watch the sunset at the shore. I arrived to find her standing on the jetty in a plain dress. She heard my steps, turned, and smiled. I used to ask you to take me here, but you always said it was too risky. It's actually really beautiful. I stood beside her as the sun sank, and the sea breeze turned cold. She looked at me and asked, in 10 years, was there ever a single moment you saw me as a woman, not a task? I was quiet for a long time. Only when the final ray of light dipped below the horizon did I answer. This time I lost. In the car, she handed me a manila envelope. Everything in the deal is in there. And, she added, Lisa's father's medical bills are all covered. That developer won't be bothering her family anymore. I was stunned. The car pulled up to my building. I got out, and she called, wait, I almost forgot. She shoved a small velvet box into my hand. A late birthday present. I opened it. It was a vintage military watch. The face was engraved. U.S. Army Rangers. I looked up stunned. How did you know? She gave a faint smile. I looked into everything. Your service record, your annual visits to your squad leader's grave, your old military magazines, the platoon photo you keep under your pillow. Her voice trembled. You're not a bodyguard, Morrison, and you're not a dog. You're a hero I never deserved. She finished, got in, and drove away. I stood at the curb, holding the watch. On the back, in fine print, it read, to my hero. My phone vibrated with a new message. You're free. Go marry her. I stood there for a long while, watching the road she'd taken. The next day, everything seemed back on track. My accounts were unfrozen. The landlord called, apologizing for the misunderstanding. Headhunters began reaching out with six-figure offers. It felt like waking from a long nightmare. I went upstate to visit Lisa's father at the hospital. The surgery had gone well. On a hallway bench, Lisa sat next to me, peeling an apple as we talked. "I'll pay you back," she said. "I promise." I took the apple from her. "No ruse." She hesitated. "That Vanderbilt girl hasn't been bothering you lately, has she?" "No." Lisa exhaled. "Good. Actually, I kind of pity her." I paused. "Why?" "She came to see me," Lisa murmured. "She said she was giving you back to me. She'd been crying. Her eyes were all swollen." I stiffened. "She came to see you a few days ago?" "Yeah." "She said she wouldn't bother us anymore and even pushed a credit card on me as a wedding gift." I didn't accept it. I finished the apple in silence. It was sweet with a hint of sour, like the feeling in my chest. Where father was released, I helped them move back to the city. Outside her building, I saw a familiar figure. It was Sarah. She'd lost so much weight, I almost didn't recognize her. She handed me a gift box. "Wedding gift." Lisa looked confused. "What wedding?" I've already got the gift ready," Sarah laughed. "If you don't tie the knot, I'll be so let down." She shoved the box into Lisa's hands. "It's just jewelry for my dad's partners. It's a waste sitting in the vault." She turned to go. "Sarah," I called out. It was the first time in 10 years I'd used her first name. She turned slowly, her eyes red, but she managed to smile. "Drop by sometime. My door's always open, as a friend, not as an employee." She walked off quickly, her shoulders shaking slightly. "She really has changed," Lisa murmured. I didn't answer. I watched her vanish around the corner, and it felt like a 10-year weight had been lifted. 6 months later, Lisa and I held a small engagement party. Right as the party began, a huge flower basket was delivered. Among the roses, a card read, "To my hero. Be happy. Should we ask her in?" Lisa whispered. I shook my head. "She won't come in." Later, during the toasts, I vaguely heard noise from the hallway. I went out and saw a familiar figure at the far end, stepping into the elevator. When I got downstairs, I only saw the black Maybach glide away from the curb. I stood there for a long while, until Lisa came out looking for me. "What's wrong?" I took her hand. "Nothing. Just windy. Let's go back inside." Later, I heard Sarah had gone abroad for further studies. She occasionally posted on social media, each smile more genuine than the last. In one photo, an old military journal sat in the background corner. I liked the post. Almost instantly, she replied with a smiley, "Be happy, Morrison." I set down my phone. Sunlight poured through the window. In the kitchen, the smell of Lisa's beef stew slowly filled the whole house. After going in circles for 10 years, I'd finally come home. When she finally called you hero instead of dog, you took back your name. The truest freedom isn't running away. It's being released.